you got, your bill is gonna be basically to a general contractor. You're not.
Don't you share an elevator?
I think so. I mean,
but the general contractor does that. You don't go get individual bids outside the general contractor. They're doing all that.
right, but the contractor gave us a list saying, Howell Heating bid this, Butch Electric bid this,
Right.
so-and-so bid this, which one do you want?
On elevators, really?
I don't remember elevators specifically, but I remember
Because we did
heating, HVAC, electrical, so on.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're talking about $1,000 items here, but
No, that.
No, I wouldn't want to nickel and dime this
Right.
thing either. I would think Jeff, we'd only be looking at the major
Major.
items, general construction, HVAC, plumbing, electrical.
we need to know that there isn't some favoritism or political, we need to.
Again, is the bid that we received from,
Stevens?
yeah, Stevens is the one we got the bid from, and it was, I think it was $400,000 or $500,000 higher. It was 2.45 or something.
For the whole project.
For the project, yeah, but now Roger's using his own general contractor, Tom Ness, and I'm just not sure how they would bid out all that process. So you would say, well, okay, if you're using him, are we bidding all those general construction costs when we're using our own general contractor?
That is what we
You're
decided.
getting bids for heating and.
You said general construction, you said framing and all those things. I mean, I want to know how close we gotta be on this thing, because we're using Roger's contractor, we're not bidding that.
And I think that's an important issue that we need to make sure is right, because the public looks at us and says, wait a minute, Roger's project, Roger's guys, you know,
Okay,
but we didn't do anything to make sure Roger's.
So wait a minute, when we hired Stevens to do it, we've already gotten a bid from them for the whole project.
And it must have been broken out. And he just didn't give you $3 million, he said, because here's heating, isn't it?
Okay, so when that's broken down for HVAC and all that, that's acceptable?
It would be another quote.
To ask us to make a determination on something you haven't even put before us is ludicrous.
Chris, you understand what I'm getting at.
I understand what you're getting at, but
Stevens,
you don't have anything to look at, say, yeah, I don't know what they're.
if you
what
see the
things
numbers,
gave
it's
you.
listed out, all of those items are listed out on Stevens' bid, is that then acceptable for us not getting competitive bids on $1,000 items? That's all I'm asking.
I don't know, show it to me.
Right.
I don't know if they bid it out or not, or if they just estimated.
But if they did
How do
break,
you do yours? You don't just gas it over, pull a number.
Yes, they do initially, they do. And then they refine it down.
All right,
This isn't worth arguing.
I do think we should put a cap number on that, and I was thinking, maybe increase more than 1,000, maybe $5,000. Yes, it has to show his bid, even your individual HVAC contractors and such, anything above $5,000.
show us 2 bids on items over $5,000.
He doesn't want to belabor it. How do I do that when we've already assigned the general contractor to it? Tom Ness is the builder. How do we bid that process?
Jeff, he's got it ready.
He's gone out and contracted subs, right? He's bringing subs in.
Tom's the general for the guys that work under him. But we didn't get an opposing bid other than what we would have from Stevens to do the whole project. That's all we would have on that. On just general construction. I'm not talking plumbing or heating or electrical.
Oh, I see. You're talking about the general's portion of the bid.
The general's portion of the bid. I don't have, all I would have is Stevens. Because, I don't know how many nails Tom Ness is gonna buy for framing out the mezzanine. I don't know what that cost is. I'm sure they probably have some idea, and Roger would know better than I would. But gonna have an individual bid on the wood costs, the installation of that mezzanine. And that's gonna be more than $5,000, it'll be a lot more than $5,000. So I'm just trying to make sense out of this, so we can give you something that you can work with. I understand not having any numbers, that's perfect. It makes perfect sense.
I don't understand why that's an issue, it's carpentry, $20,000.
You're gonna have an estimate for framing, for interior framing. You're gonna have a bid.
I think they've already gone ahead and said that Ness is gonna build it. The
Correct.
only other numbers they have to go compared to is Stevens' overall project bid.
Exactly.
Did they, but I'm assuming Stevens itemized their bid.
I'm sure it's itemized to the point of general carpentry.
So,
Is that the secondary bid? That's all I'm asking.
Bingo,
I think
bingo,
we could
that's it.
accept that.
As long as it's itemized, Chris, is that acceptable?
General,
What is itemized? The general contractor's percentage of the total cost?
The rough carpentry, finished carpentry, all of that will be itemized some way on Stevens' bid. We don't have any way to get a competing bid against Tom Ness, since one of the owners of this partnership is doing the general contract. You know as well as I do that if you general contract your own house, you can build it for a lot cheaper. That's where we're doing the cost savings, and their estimate was considerably higher. You're paying their fee on it. So if we give you that proposal from them, do I not have to then get itemized bids on a mezzanine or a stairwell or whatever it is?
no, Jeff.
You're mixing apples and oranges there.
Yeah, it's general.
The general on a project charges a percentage of the total cost
Yeah.
to oversee the project,
Yes.
okay? He will get a bid for interior framing. He will get a bid for HVAC. He will get a bid for electrical. Whether it's Stevens or Tom Ness or Joe Schmo.
The Stevens bid is acceptable against Tom Ness, correct?
Which
As
part
long
of
as
it?
it's itemized, the whole thing, every piece of it. It's not gonna be very
If it's a
specific,
bid, if there are bids.
but it's not gonna be very specific. You said $5,000, where does the $5,000 come into play?
I thought it would be,
You're asking us to judge something we can't see.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Stevens bid, is it one piece of paper? Is it this thick?
No, Chris, I think that, I'm sure that Stevens gave an appropriate bid to the project.
Correct.
That would have some kind of itemization, and that I think we as a committee can say, yes, we can look at that bid. At that time, if that bid is rehab Ace building, $3 million, then no, that won't work, and I think you know that.
So Jeff, how is the Stevens bid broken down?
I had never seen the bid,
Okay,
but Chris says they just grab a number out of the sky. I don't think that happened, but that's what he said happened, so I don't have any reason to debate that, but I'm sure there's something more to it.
well, in my mind, assuming that everything in the Stevens bid is everything that needs to go in the project, seems like to me that we would, if Ness does it, he should submit the exact same thing, so we compare apples to apples. And it seems like to me that would suffice, assuming that was all the cost.
We don't want to create a whole lot more cost for you to go out and get bids you're actually not going to use,
Right.
because you've got Rogers contractor already involved. But I also got to assume that they did some figuring as to what it was going to cost, and it could be, if it does not exist now, it could be created into a bid format and compared to Stevens, and then we're done.
The only issue I have is that Stevens doesn't have this formalized bid that suffices for you to look at. And if it isn't scrutinized down to the dollar amounts that you guys are looking for, then what do we do?
Well,
Then I gotta go.
we know you're going to have competitive bids for everything but the general, the carpentry.
Correct.
I guess go get a bid for the carpentry.
Well, why don't you just see what
Why don't we
Stevens
see what
has?
Stevens
I
did?
mean, you know, why, you
I
know,
don't know, they
you
want
got
to
a
talk about it
question
all night
mark.
long, that's why.
Yeah. Just bring in what Stevens.
Bring it in.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at it.
Said that innumerable times.
All right, I think I said it enough. Let's move on.
Yeah, I just, get back to the dollar value, I picked 5,000 because I really 1% would have been more appropriate, but that's 20,000. I thought that'd be a little high. We are talking about taxpayers' money here, so maybe 1/4 of that, at $5,000, anything above $5,000 will be included in their statements. Right now, the way it reads, everything needs to be competitively bid. Every dollar bill.
And we don't want you having to come up with bids for
Everything.
every little thing.
Any thoughts on that?
On a $2 million project,
I'm sure they're gonna look at bids for everything. I'm sure you're gonna get more than one estimate for everything you buy.
No, I don't.
Aren't you?
Well, maybe not
I mean, you could spend $5,000 on light fixtures on the main floor.
We've tried to use local contractors. Some of the bidding lost because they weren't necessarily local contractors. So we went with local contractors. Now, I would have chose those contractors because there's better contractors. But the group decided that we need to keep this local. It's Evansville money. We need to keep it local. So I've been, it doesn't matter at this point. But I'll get those and use proofs in the pudding and look at it on paper.
I think we're gonna create a lot of extra cost to the project by wanting to bid on everything. I think, Bill, but we gotta come up with some figure that is not gonna require them running back here with 2 bids. To me, 5,000 seems low.
The bid process, and we're wanting to do local people, there's not that many local people who sell lights, there's not that many local people who sells plumbing fixtures.
Let me ask you, Roger, should we go to Menards and buy all of our lumber, or should we buy it from Nelson Mill? Who's gonna be cheaper? I can tell you who's cheaper, because you can buy bamboo that's straighter than what that stuff is that you get from Menards. We're not gonna buy it from Menards. So this is where this whole bid process comes in. If you're scrutinizing it to that point, are we supposed to be shopping at Menards? Maybe we should go to Walmart.
Well, I think that's a good point, because he does not have 2 lumber yards that are local. If we're gonna get competitive bids, I think it's important that he keeps the business in town.
So what your suggestion would just strike that section out?
Or $20,000 on a $2 million project is,
Is really appropriate.
yeah.
I think we're just picking numbers out of the air.
Yeah.
None of us are in the construction business. Let's look at the bid and try and come up with a mutually agreeable number that makes sense.
Although
We don't have any numbers to look at.
I have a lot of experience with this since I built plants and stuff.
Okay.
And home all that.
Well, you're the one that suggested $1,000.
So I started at 1,000, then
Now you're working your
yeah, well, I realized 1% is more appropriate.
Now you're at 20.
Yeah, it really is for estimate bids. But you do, I realize we're discussing this, but your general contractor has all of these items multiply bid out, guaranteed, right now, guaranteed. If he didn't do that, he wouldn't be my general contractor.
Okay, in the next 30 days, when I'm waiting to get these numbers in front of you,
Yeah.
until you can make a decision on whether we have to have a bid or not, what are we doing? Stop?
No, actually, you don't need to have these multiple numbers until you get the disbursements. Okay, that's at the end of when you're looking for your money being paid out to you, not the approval section.
Yeah, but it'd be much better to have your bids before the project starts.
No question about it, but
So it seems like to me it makes sense.
the idea here is that there are things that you don't bid out on until you're well within the project. For instance, you don't go bid out on some concrete that you're going to be pouring when you're actually going to be pouring your driveway towards the end of the building of your home. Wait till you get towards the end of your building process and then bid out your concrete.
Well, unfortunately, you started the project
Yeah.
before showing us any numbers, and before going through this process. And, that was your business decision. So we're trying to piece it together as best we can.
Well, part of the point may be that we've led them to believe that we were in for this project with some commitment.
in order for us to get it, our compliance date is December 31/07. Things don't ever go in the time that you anticipate. Anticipating will be done by October, but I don't want to be held up another month. That's all. That's enough discussion. Switch to the bids, take a look at it, and we'll just have to go from there. I guess we'll just keep working.
I personally don't think that when it does come down to it, there's gonna be a problem. But
Solve the lumber bill for me, I'm leaving, but solve the lumber bill for me. If that makes sense, that we're gonna go down to Menards or Houlihan's or stock lumber to buy that stuff rather than shop locally for it, if that makes sense, then you make that decision and make sure it goes on the blog as that's what we're doing, because that doesn't make any sense to me at all. You gotta support local business, we're all gonna be starving in 2007. Thanks.
Okay. Any other paragraphs we want to amend? We're adding.
The only thing I had is the chairman, the executive director, we currently do not have one, just reminded me of that. And wondering if that's appropriate, thing to include that.
we were gonna change it to the title company, right?
The binding agreement
Number 7 is talking about.
Oh,
Well,
Does it-
you know, this thing is not going to be signed until January, and we will have an executive director in January, on January 2nd.
Okay, for sure be that.
Yeah, sure. That's part of his job description.
Okay.
Anything else? Well, that was fun.
And then the next item here is the grant, right? That's the number B on the list here today. Motion to recommend to common council resolution 2006-49, authorizing submission of a community development block grant public facilities application for the Eager building conversion.
second.
Do we have that resolution in front of us today?
I believe you probably should, John. Is it in?
Yeah, just trying to take notes.
This is basically language that has come right from the grant application. It's just fill in the blanks, so.
And this grant.
This is the grant that's been awarded already.
Okay, so they have been awarded $300,000.
We've been awarded $300,000,
City.
but now they would like the paperwork.
Yeah. And the city has been awarded. And did we apply or they applied?
The city is the applicant.
Who really applied? We did or they did?
Roger and Jeff went up and met with the Department of Commerce,
Okay.
and,
You really want to know the story, excuse me.
yeah,
A loan officer at our bank did some research and found this, and made the developers aware of it. Facilitated a meeting with the Department of Commerce, and lo and behold, it qualifies. So that's how.
yeah. But the normal process is the city puts in the application before the grant gets awarded.
Sure.
And it happened the cart before the horse, or,
Yeah, they made a big presentation down here at City Hall. You were probably deer hunting. And
no, it was
the
a press
secretary-
release,
the
but it,
secretary came down.
no, that's something different, that was the brick grant.
Oh,
But anyways, now we have to we have to get the paperwork in. And part of that is this resolution. So,
Okay.
And you would say that this money, once it's paid back, it stays in town forever?
yes,
Forever,
it's,
a long time?
this grant and the actual disbursement of the monies will be through the housing authority.
Okay.
And of the $300,000, $20,000 is for the grant administration.
So the city keeps that?
The city Yes, so
Or the housing authority keeps the
the
20,000?
housing authority has to keep track of their time and is paid up to $20,000 for the administration. The actual money available is $280,000 per loan.
I see here that there's no dollar value on here, but we know it's 300,000.
Yes. But this is see, this is normally goes in with the application. Just so happens we know the dollar amount, but this is their verbiage.
Is there any matching, the city's behalf for this grant? It's not a match grant at all.
Well, actually, the city is to provide 25%, but that's the TIF.
So our match is really gonna be the 25, more like $500,000.
Well,
In this case.
This,
yeah,
More than matching.
Yeah, we're more than matching.
we're more than matching.
Okay.
and our motion is just to recommend it to the
Well,
council.
I'm sure we would be there too.
Yeah.
And I think Chris made an important point before on figuring out and negotiating with these developers what the loan term is going to be. Because if it's out to 30 years or something, the repayment is not going to provide much for the revolving loan fund for other people in Evansville. So
That's
it would
not
be,
controlled by
Would be
the.
yeah, we can, I mean, that's controlled by negotiations between us and the developers. But I think it behooves us in looking out for the city's interest to try to advance that repayment schedule.
Technically, the housing authority and the developer.
Right, right,
Yeah, and that would be, is this an interest-free loan, right?
yeah. Well,
Yet we could negotiate the loan if we want an interest.
There's another concern we have in that the horse is running way ahead of the cart here.
yeah.
Developers are gonna throw up, we from that at them. Where's their thinking on this?
You heard Jeff, interest-free loan.
Yeah, that's different. Free money.
You know, I guess
We have to weigh the fact that it is gonna, maybe we can control the advantage to the community by the term, so that the money's back into the community to offset the fact that we may not charge interest. I mean, we could say to them, okay, 30 years to pay it back at 2%, or 20 years to pay it back at 0%, or what?
Yeah, you're right, but I'm thinking the same thing, I was thinking a little bit harsher, like 5-year loan with 0.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm only
No.
using it for conversation, not for hard facts.
I put it from the cash.
No, couldn't it be 5 years, no interest, and then another 10 years at, 4%?
Yeah, it's all negotiable
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
there's
between
one
the
variable
city
in that.
and
That's exactly right. And then cap it out some year, like 20 years.
Well, what I think our developers do have to understand is that there were strings attached on common council approval. And they've got to come forward with information that has not been forthcoming. So the ball is kind of in their court. I think they've gotten our guidance as to what our thinking is on some of these things, but.
Yeah, they're gonna get Turkish Fringe on Tuesday, if this is what we have in front of us.
Yeah. I think that was easy on them.
I know.
Well, let's act on the motion to adopt the resolution.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, if you think about it in general, if they're, without the information provided to us, this is a good thing, it reduces the risk of this particular project.
that's right.
You know what I mean? This is, and it's already been awarded, it's a no-brainer decision, so really, our hands are very tied, so. I'll
I
make
think my point, well, let's act on it.
Yeah, make a motion to recommend the common council to resolution 2006-49, authorizing submission of the community development block grant public facilities application for the eager building conversion.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think my point was that this $300,000, although it's coming from the state, it's coming through the city.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
The city is actually giving $300,000 to this guy.
Which they want to pay back.
that you're gonna have to pay back. But it's additional assistance on the part of the city. Now, sure, you can make the argument, well, if it wasn't for this project, the city wouldn't have the $300,000 because no one would have gone to the Department of Commerce and requested it. So
That's true.
you can-
But are you saying that it has an impact on the original agreement the city had with these developers to pay that 500?
No, but I'm saying it should have an impact on whether or not we go above $1.9 million.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think $1.9 million was carved in stone. Or maybe I'm saying,
Or that it
It
was
is
carved in
carved.
stone, if we were simply gonna do 25% of the project, period.
you wrote a bunch of numbers on the wall, and we said, okay, $1.9 million, and that's the last we've heard.
Yeah, it was, as Jeff said, it was based on a guess, and the best guess was $1.9 million. Well, actual numbers can go down as well as up.
That's true.
But I guess I took your point, Chris, to be that because it is going up, and we can almost always assume that projects like this will go up, that we can stay at the $1.9 million and then the percentage, because they've got these other sources to cover as the project expands.
Yes, that was my point.
Okay, and I don't think Jeff got that. I think Jeff thinking, since we came up with 300,000, you're gonna subtract 300,000 from your share, our share.
And 1.9.
Yeah, and no, but these other sources are helping them when it goes above the original.
But there, like this idea of the kiosks, there is all kinds of grant money for museum, displays. And that's not bricks and mortar.
And I think I'm in the minority on that. My sense is that the committee is in favor of going up to the $2 million. No one's spoken against it except me.
Oh, well,
Well, let's see what
I
it
guess
is.
I didn't.
What we need is the numbers. Really what we need is the numbers.
It's infuriating.
What's it?
Well, I think he's infuriated that they haven't come in with any numbers.
Oh, yeah.
I think they need to understand that we're on their side, but we really have a responsibility.
You're asking for $500,000, and all we got is, we don't have anything.
Do you believe that they have the numbers? You betcha they believe they have. You betcha they
Of
have.
course they have the numbers. And the numbers that are in there are because I requested
Yeah.
Department of Commerce to fax them to me, or we wouldn't have those numbers.
Right, so why aren't they providing the numbers to us, okay? Who's leading this project?
Well, that's the other thing. They sent one guy here who has a little piece of the information, and it doesn't,
That's why I
no
suggested,
disrespect to Jeff, and Roger or anybody else. It's one person. They need all their people here to answer questions.
when I said,
Present information.
Right.
Not have one person come and just argue all night.
What's gonna happen,
Ridiculous.
I believe, is that we're gonna get dumped on with a big packet at the council meeting, but 5 minutes beforehand, and says, vote on $2 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's
It's
not-
typical practice.
The development agreement, the only thing that's going on council is this resolution.
For the grant.
For the grant.
So this draft is,
Oh, no, I'm
One or two
not
down.
saying this week's council,
Yeah.
I'm saying when they want their money, they're gonna wait till the last moment and dump it on us. It's the
Well-
usual practice.
I don't.
Yeah, it's gotta come, before there was approval, it said, one of the requirements was a development agreement. So we've gotta hammer out the development agreement.
I think if we can keep the dialogue open, we won't have that problem. It's as much not up to us, but it's important that we keep, I think for the project and the impact of the community, it's important that we keep the dialogue open to the partnership and not just say, well, you threw it on us late. Let's make sure they're aware that we can't have that.
I think the real issue here is that, talk about private businesses, private contractors, Rogers and Jeff's and such worth, and they're having their project now being scrutinized like a public project would be, multiple bids, public comments, reviews, and they're not used to that and such, and that's not really the way business operates.
and it's,
Yeah, and it's such a, and it's gotta be awful frustrating on their part.
but it's very important that they understand that that's exactly why we need to
They have to
keep track of this, because the rumors are gonna say that those guys are run their own deal.
We know, we have to do this because we have to provide our due diligence to the taxpayers that we represent in the city of Evansville. All right, we're using their money.
Well, and that's why they have to understand that they are gonna get scrutinized. And for Jeff to come in here and express outrage that they're being scrutinized, well.
That's where I'm saying the dialogue needs to stay open, so they understand the reason why we are screwed.
If you're not gonna ask for the $500,000 from the taxpayers, then you're not gonna get the scrutiny.
Exactly.